Alrighty, so let me turn off that ESL logo because this ain't ESL. These are a few replays from the Brawlers Club number 2. This is an event that was run by AlphaX and SomeDrunkCanadian. That is their ID, not just my generalization of who they were. And yeah, this is going to be 5 awesome players taking part in basically just a 5-player round robin, and prize payouts get paid out based on where you finish in the payouts, right? So if you finish first, you get first place. It's just a group. It's just a 5-player round robin group, and wherever you finish is where you finish. That's just your results. So I kind of like it. 10 best of 3s. We're not going to get through all of these today. We'll just get through as many as we can. I started a bit late, etc., and we're going to take it pretty chill. We might chat a little bit between games and stuff. So yeah, let's dive on into this. In the bottom left-hand side, our red Terran player. This is ByuN taking on the blue Zerg top right DRG. The other players in this 5-player event are Zest, TY, and Parting. I figured this would be a pretty fun little set of matches to cast, and it's all players that people are pretty interested in, so it'll probably make for some good YouTube content. Hello YouTube! Yes, this series is probably going to go up on YouTube. Hi, how are you doing? It's been a while since I actually said hello YouTube during a video, so hope you guys are doing great. We had a great surge on YouTube throughout May. It's dropped off a lot now, but it was nice to have a little bit of a surge again and to go up a few subs and stuff. So if you are enjoying, hit that like button on the video, and maybe consider subscribing if you don't already. So ByuN DRG, bit of TvZ action, and like I say, just, you know, this is what we usually do when DreamHack seasons are on. There's a bunch of other awesome events happening. Oftentimes replays are available. I bought these off the Match Reno page for this event. So always check out, if you ever see players and you want the replays, check out the tournament page on tl.net or something. See if they've got a Match Reno, because 9 times out of 10 if they do, then you're probably able to get the replays. So like I say, I paid $5 or something for these replays so we can cast for you guys and give you guys the action. So yeah, that's basically the drill. As we start off very standard, by the way, which is why I'm kind of just rambling as well. It looks as though ByuN is going to go into a 3cc opening, though. No second gas already. So looks as though we're just going to be seeing a 3rd CC setup as the drone getting bopped. The Ling's taking some damage, and this Reaper just going to go on a little bit of a loop around the hatchery right now. Having a good little time here at the moment. Obviously, these Lings want to get some damage on the Reaper so that the Queen can put the Creep Tumor down without issue. Where is that Creep Tumor going to go? Not going to Creep Tumor, going to inject instead. So maybe just a little bit afraid of putting the Creep Tumor down due to, well, yeah, just the Reaper's presence and not having been able to push that back properly. It makes sense, makes sense. I can get behind that, as there is our 3rd CC on the way, and it looks as though we're going to see a starboard variation of this 3cc, which is, you know, it used to be a given. Nowadays, you see so many 2-rack setups behind this 3cc opening. The starport is really not a guarantee any longer, so as DRG also just playing very safe. Link speed plus the Overlord speed, so really just wants to gather information early and make sure nothing's going to catch him off guard. I personally always feel like Overlord speed is such a sad affair when you're up against a 3cc, because it's like you're spending money and hurting your own economy to see that he's just going mass economy, and it's like, ugh. Obviously, like, there is that situation where a lot of the time, yes, then you can react to that, but if this Overlord had already just been diving in, he would have seen the 3rd CC and would have got out alive, most likely. You don't necessarily need the Overlord speed for it, right? So it's one of those things where you're kind of paying to guarantee a scout on something you probably could have scouted without. The one good thing about this is you do see the follow-up to the 3cc. No tech lab on the starport, for example, so you are going to get information here already as DRG realizing, oh, okay, well, there's only so many things this can be. You know, 3cc, no tech lab. Viking, maybe. Liberator takes quite a long time to build, though, so if this Overlord survives a bit longer, he's probably starting to think, well, that's not a Viking, that's probably a Liberator. So I think DRG will have a perfect read on what's going on early, at least, here to start us off. So gets all that information. I mean, that's really good information to have, obviously, as you see those Marines trying to get the Overlord. Of course, you really shouldn't be losing that if you've invested into Overlord speed, unless you're, like, really diving through. But that was just trying to get out of there, so just able to kind of squeeze out of that. As we have a few Hellions going to join on up over toward that bottom right-hand side watchtower. We've got a Liberator moving along the right side, too. A couple of Queens still setting up. Drones in production. Evolution Chamber finishing on the natural. And these few Hellions just tagging up a Queen. So Queen taking a bit of damage as well. As that one Zergling gonna go nibble and tag up this this third CC. So getting that up and running as melee upgrades continue through. The Hellions putting a little bit more damage out. Creep team are taking some hits. And these few Marines move forward here from ByuN. Just gonna take down one more Ling. Being pretty good with that as our Hellions gonna get active back on the map, taking down one creep tumor to begin with already. And just again, seeing 1-1 upgrades coming through. As that Liberator, DRG had an idea, spores on the way, just wasn't really in time. Already had a bit of a skirmish with this in the main base as well. As we're out watching Hellions roast and toast a couple things. So Liberator doesn't do too much, a little bit of damage, really nothing major. Pretty good defense from DRG, as it should be. If you invest into that Overlord speed, that's kind of already the damage done by ByuN, that your opponent has invested money to make sure he then won't take damage, then he can be as well prepared as possible when necessary. Well, we take a moment or two, and the game really does settle down into one of the more standard TvZ setups, right? And especially with Double Evo, I guess that may be worth mentioning here, because Double Evo is not necessarily the go-to nowadays. It used to be. This used to be like plain old, absolute cookie-cutter TvZ. Nowadays, not quite so much. Nowadays, that, double melee upgrade is often delayed in favor of the faster lair, the faster Baneling speed, and the faster Spire. So we see that a fair amount of the time, that faster lair. I wonder if with the Overlord speed here, that gives him the, the freedom or the safety to kind of say, you know what, okay, I'm going into the, faster upgrades, I can be a bit greedier. He's also going to go into Burrow very quickly, by the way, as well. So getting Burrow up means we're going to try and burrow some Banelings around the map. That's something which a few players like to do. I know Alaza loves to do this in ZVT. I think Denver is a bit of a popular guy for doing it as well. In Korea, I wouldn't really say this is something any Korean Zerg rushes out to in an early stage of the game oftentimes, but here's DRG, and yeah, it's going to be Ling Bane with some Burrow. And behind this, I mean, no tech upgrade at all. It is just a lair for 2-2. We'll see if we go Spire. I mean, DRG is very much so a Mutalisk player. He could play pure Ling Bane into a Hive. And if he wants to do that, well, he should be putting down an Infestation Pit sometime soon, because you need to hit that Hive quickly. Because it's essentially your tech, right? It's your mid-game tech. It sounds weird, but going to the Hive is your mid-game tech instead of a Spire. So you need to get that down early so you can get those ultras going, and you can gain the advantage of having teched up so quickly by having your high tier 3 tech units out very quickly in the game, and that supports the Ling Bane, which is good at surviving until those units are out, and that's why it works, because this Ling Bane army can do well enough, it can fight against this, and it can do decently. But, let's see this drop continuing, but, if you don't ever get to like a transition, this army does start just to become way too inefficient. Drop play becomes way too effective against it, and you can get pulled around and apart. There's DRG's decision. I was going to say, Infestation Pit, I was obviously saying, has to be soon if it's going to be for Hive. This is not a Hive fast ultra kind of thing. This is one of the other stars we've been seeing get a lot of love lately, which is, of course, Lurkers. Hydra Den for the moment, but that will be Hive and Lurker Den in sync as DRG gets aggressive. ByuN goes on the defense, as a few Lings do run on by, and a few of those SCVs taking some shots. Ling Bane in the upper left-hand corner, gonna run on by as well. Another Widowmine shot goes out and hits a Zergling or two. We're just gonna be seeing the rest of this army from DRG regathering out in the middle of the map. Hive building from DRG now in the main base. Again, you need this Hive if you're gonna go Lurkers, because you need to get to the Seismic Spines upgrade, otherwise Lurkers just aren't that good. The other alternative is obviously getting a couple of Vipers up and running and having those get going pretty much straight away, but I think the priority here will absolutely be the Lurkers. I mean, we'll be finding out as soon as we see the Lurker Den going down. That's the only thing the only reason I'm kind of second-guessing myself here is because I'm like, where's the Lurker Den? Using the Ling Burrow here to be a little bit more aggressive. Haven't seen any burrowed Banelings, have you guys? Don't know if I've just missed them or we've not been looking in the right places. Don't really feel like we've got many around. Another run by over here, continuing in. Drilling Claws is saved. Oh, the one Baneling gets next to all those SCVs. As ByuN's push is continuing as well, by the way. SCVs are pulling to protect the Drilling Claws. That's a good upgrade to have, especially when you're playing against such a Ling Bane heavy style. With Hydras coming into play, you wonder if you want to kind of stick around on Widow Mines. Usually, that's when you start going and saying, oh, maybe I should go into siege tanks instead. We'll see if that's going to be a switch that ByuN makes. Especially when Lurker's out, you'd love to have tanks. I mean, this Hive is now done, and it is just going to be Vipers, so apparently DRG maybe never planned to actually play Lurkers, at least not yet. It's always a transition that's available to you if you've gone Hydras and Hydra upgrades, etc., right? But in this very moment, he's actually just going to play Lingbane Hydra Viper, which is kind of just not usual, right? It's just not really what you usually expect to see. Let's see, ByuN going to stem up this left-hand side. A few of these creep tumors are already going to be taken down here. There's an Overseer going to go morphing in, and our Ling Bane Force. Well, a few Banes just going to go crashing into a Marauder, basically. Cancels up that Overseer. Widowmine going to line up nicely onto the Ling Bane. Beautiful Widowmine connection for ByuN. He is just a massive army supply lead, by the way. I can't help but feel the way that this game is playing out is that ByuN has done a really good job, A, efficiency-wise. Yes, he's taken some economic damage, but DRG only recently really took control of the economy, and it just happened a bit too late, and I almost just... I just feel as though right now, DRG is meant to have a better army. Like, now is the point where DRG is like, oh, okay, well, I've got Lurkers, hurrah! You know, I throw my Lurkers out here, and my Lurkers I can hold and defend, and they're really good defensively, and everyone's happy. But this just never happened, like... His army's just still mid-game with Adrenal Glands and a couple Vipers, but Vipers aren't even that amazing in this scenario because you don't have any Siege Tanks to Blinding Cloud yet. You know, there's Widowmines, and obviously you can Blinding Cloud, like, the bio and make it derp forward, but then ByuN just backs away. Usually Blinding Clouds allow you to attack into, you know, Siege Tank lines, and that just is not the case here when there's no Siege Tanks, so... Yeah, kind of a crazy game. ByuN really did a good job denying a base or two and just keeping his, you know, his own economy intact. You know, it wasn't the best economy, but it was good enough to get the job done. He got up to his 4 bases, and he really just traded that much better than DRG throughout this. And in the end, DRG just could not keep up, and I can't help but feel that so much of this, it just comes down to kind of the composition choice, but... Yeah, fun game, lots of action. There's stuff going on truly all over the map there. GG's. Without any further ado, let me take you into this beautiful game number 2. On the map of Lightshade. At least I hope it's going to be beautiful, because our first game was rather entertaining, had a very good time. I am sure that ByuN, our red Terran player in the bottom right, had a very good time, as he took the 1-0 lead in this best of 3. Up against the blue Zerg in the top left-hand side from Team N3, we do have Dong Regu. DRG. Man, DRG, really... I feel like DRG really took off and then slowed down again, you know? You know, like, he really got, like, really good. That GSL performance, GSL semifinals, and then for a long, especially in ZVT, it felt like he was dominant. Like, he was really just, like, the player in ZVT in Korea. And then it felt like everything stopped clicking, and especially lately, feels like DRG is not being anywhere near as dangerous as he was about a year ago, or a year and a bit ago now, I guess. So, yeah, no, it's definitely weird to see someone who came back from the military and almost, like, he was back from the military for a long while before getting that spike in success. But, not like he's bad, not like he's not competitive right now, just, you know, if you enter GSL, I'm not really expecting DRG to be in the playoffs, right? If he makes the playoffs, I'm like, oh, good run from him. But I wouldn't expect him to, you know? And, yeah, kind of been an interesting return from the military for him as this game number 2 kicks off with our setup from ByuN. Obviously, pool first is what I'm watching here, and as this SCV comes up the ramp, you'll find out that it's pool first by seeing the hatchery not being done. There's a marine opening from ByuN, so he's actually just going to have marines at home anyway, no Reaper to go across the map, so actually this works out just fine for him, as these feelings are going to hide away. They're afraid there is a Reaper on the map, and they're afraid that it's maybe coming down to hunt them. Couple questions from the chat, just quickly as the game sets up. Damn, Wardy, corner piece in your room is vibes. It's cool, right? Yeah. I didn't realize how cool it was going to look. I just had the lights. I've had them for like a year and a bit, and they never looked good in my old room. But they look badass in the room right now, so yeah, kind of loving it. Always wondered, are there any spoilers when you cast replay? Like if it's the best of 3 and you see 2 replays, you know who's won after the first game. I mean, at some point I've seen the results of this tournament, but not in depth enough to know who wins what. I have to see the results because I have to look at the tournament to see who was playing, and figure out if it's worth getting the replays for. So at some point I've seen the results, but that's also why I'm casting these 2 weeks after the tournament's played, because I haven't looked at these replays for like 2 weeks. So as much Starcraft as I watch, I actually completely forgot everything about this. So at some point, yes, I probably saw something about this event, but as it stands right now, I actually have no idea anymore. And in terms of seeing like if there's a game 3 or not, I just don't look for it. I just see, it's just written down ByuN DRG G1. I click on that. I see ByuN DRG G2. I look at that. If it's 1-1, I start looking for game number 3. I just sort of like don't pay attention. Oh, sometimes you get replays in like game 1, 2, 3, and there's fake replays and stuff. That's not the case here. I really just don't pay enough attention to to the names and stuff. I just look for what I look for. So yeah. I know that sounds weird and it sounds implausible, but I personally wouldn't cast these if I knew the results and I knew what was happening. So generally, I'd say 95% of the time, I'm very completely unaware of what's happening when we're casting replays. There is the odd time when I have to organize something for my tournament. I need to kind of know who's advanced to set up the next match, and that's one of the unfortunate scenarios where I do just not have a choice other than to know who advanced, at least. And that's obviously a shame, but that's such a rare occurrence. Like I say, I'd say it's like a 95% chance that I really don't know much. Yeah, it's kind of crazy because some people are like, well, if you've got the replay files, you must know everything about them. Well, you can also just not pay attention to what you've got. Like, I do a quick check to make sure, like, it's very possible if they miss adding a replay in here, like, if this goes 1-1 and I start looking for game 3, it just wouldn't be there because I've not gone around checking if the, you know what I mean? But obviously, usually the replay files are complete, so it's not an issue. This game's about to get exciting, guys. I really got off on a bit of a tangent, didn't I? As Hellions come over, and we're moving into Hellbats, so it's going to be a Hellbat attack with a Cyclone. Remember that this was Marine opening, so we have a fair few Marines and not as many Hellbats, honestly. Plus the Cyclone, that was where the factory production went initially. Now, let's see if we can trade out with any Queens, especially for the Banshee follow-up to try and be as successful as possible. Medevac in a good place. As you hold this ramp, it's a really good way to make sure that you're not allowing the Queens to get toward the Medevac. Banshee revealed due to this run-by, which gets 5 SCVs. I'm going to go ahead and say this is a complete and utter shutdown from DRG. I mean, beautifully done. Counterattack, workers killed, nicely done. You get your reveal on the Banshee, so you know what the next set of the tech is from your opponent. And it's a perfect defense, really, on the Hellbat attack, which was such a weird Hellbat attack as well. Like I say, because it was a Marine opening, then you build that Cyclone, it almost feels like you're never going to have a Hellbat count worthwhile here. Resources lost, you can just see how bad this was for ByuN, so yeah, honestly, first time in a long time that I would genuinely just say I just do not like what ByuN did. And as, by the way as well, this Banshee apparently wasn't seen properly, so he saw it but he didn't see it, The Ling saw it but he wasn't paying attention, so the Banshee wasn't revealed, so got a couple of kills, forced up drone pull. The thing is, this was also a faster lair this time around, not a double evolution chamber, so a little bit more of a safer play from DRG rather than trying to play the double upgrades. That means he will be behind on upgrades, but he has the extra tech soon, he has the Overseer available, so deflecting this Banshee was really not much of a problem. Banshee number 2 going to join up, and maybe together they can get some damage done and be, get up to something meaningful in this game, but for the moment, doesn't really look like that's going to be the case. It's come through, and Ling goes down. A couple of creep teamers just going to get pinged away at as well. So a couple of these starting to drop as a couple go down. Just going to be seeing a 1 or 2 on this far edge getting taken down as well. Now we try and move in towards this mineral line. The Lings come through. They're going to look at that wraparound, and we do see pretty good wraparound as well. The good defense of DRG continues. I mean, the Banshees in the main get 3 drones, and I don't think that's an issue because at the end of the day, for the money invested in those Banshees, if you're only losing, 2 workers before, 3 more now, 5 workers is really not that bad, especially when this is delayed damage. It's not like these were very early Banshees getting 5 worker kills. This is 7 minutes in the game, you're losing 3 additional workers. You're already on 70 drones. It's much more manageable than if these Banshees were doing this damage at 4.5, 5 minutes in the game. So, really, from DRG again, even the points of defense that aren't spot on perfect, are very allowable damage that he's taking. So it looks very good here for DRG so far in the game. The biggest issue DRG will have will be upgrades, and ByuN will have something with upgrades this game, I imagine. A timing, a push, a continuation of an attack. And the whole idea here from DRG is to utilize his tech that he's built early, such as these mutas, to do the damage, to offset the upgrade advantage, to buy yourself time before, ByuN can push with the upgrade lead. All that kind of stuff. So that's exactly what we're going to start seeing as the mutas make their first appearance in the main base. And elsewhere on the map, there's Widowmine drops going to try and get across. Banshee show up bottom left-hand side. Interesting, maybe of note, that this is a fourth base in the bottom left from DRG, rather than taking this forward expansion, which is usually what you do. As let's follow this Widowmine drop quickly, then I'll show you why you usually take that expansion. Not looking great. Lings get full surround on this one. Second Widowmine will unload. Burrow. Queen should just tank the shot. Obviously, Queens don't get one hit by Widowmines, and then you can just move the Spore over to get that cleaned up. Good defense, as the Banshees are now cleaned up in the bottom corner as well. Yeah, usually you take this expansion because it's so open. It's a horrible place for a Terran to attack. Whereas down here, not only is the Terran base here going to give you like a pushing position towards this, but once you push down here, like where do you flank from? If the Terran gets like here, it's just difficult to create those surrounds. They can fight in a choked up area, and they can just really dictate how things go. So yeah, it's usually not that base that gets taken for the Zerg, as that's going to be a Widowmine, which is mismicroed against. Surprised not to see an Overseer flying around with these Mutalisks at the moment. Not even a hint of an Overseer. Is going to try and use the combo attack. Oh, was that the Baneling or was it the Widowmine that blew up those SCVs? Maybe a bit of both. 13 workers going down. The one thing ByuN really can't afford to have happen is stuff like that. Losing workers while not really getting anything else out of it. I mean, that was a very low Baneling count to put against ByuN for the worker damage he got done. And ByuN is just not in the position where he can absorb that damage at all or deal with it. He needs the best possible economy he can get right here to play the recovery game. And if that ain't happening, he's absolutely in some trouble, you know? So it's a little bit tough as we fly in here. Widowmine gets taken down. Marine Sim in from the right side. Gonna push the mutas back out through the center. Mortling Bane gonna come join up with everything else. Infestation Pit and a Hydralisk Den coming down from DRG too. That's our Lingbane Muta army still gathering over on the right. Hydroden going to be finishing from DRG, and Infestation Pit about to come up in the main. Seeing a similar transition to the last game, although this time I really do expect it to be Lurkers. And actually putting a Lurker Den down, which he never did last game, right? And if you're going to play Mutas and then transition into just Hydras, then I'm really question marking, question marks pop up above my head, and, I could be a YouTube thumbnail or something, because at that point, I really just don't know what's going on. So, come on, DRG. Show me that Lurker Den. Lurker Den Hive in sync. That's what we're going for, right? Prove to me that I ain't crazy. Show me that I understand TvZ. He's just going to push forward again. Question from the chat. Why no Marauders or tanks? You don't really need Marauders before Ultras. A couple are nice to mix in, but it's not necessary. Marauders are very expensive, so it may just be that ByuN's not had the economy to afford Marauders over just spamming Marines. No tanks because it's Lingbane Muta, so generally you want to play Widowmines against Lingbane Muta anyway. And that's why Lingbane Muta into there it is. That Lurker Den is so dangerous. Hold that thought, because Widowmine's going to go off here, and there's going to be a decent defense for ByuN. This is why Lingbane Muta into Lurkers is so dangerous, because you want to play Mines against the Lingbane Muta comp, because obviously tanks don't shoot up. Widowmines are very mobile, so they can deal with the mobility of the Lingbane Muta much better than tanks can as well. But then you do want to have siege tanks against the Lurkers, right? So it's kind of finding that transition of, like, right now, starting to make maybe tanks and Widowmines and going for that. So it really just is based on the composition you're playing against. Against Lingbane Muta, you just kind of want to play Marine Medevac Mine. I don't disagree, maybe a couple of Marauders could have been brought in here. But, yeah. That's basically the answer to your question. Obviously building Thors right now as well, so that'll help against the Mutas, but the ever-looming threat still will be that Lurker Den. There is just no preparation for that from ByuN. And you can maybe deal with a lower count of Lurkers with the Marines and Marauders and Mines. It gets to a point where you just need tanks, and you just need Ghosts as well, though. And as ByuN sets up into a fourth base, he'll at least have an attempt of an economy to maybe afford all that. We'll find out if he can make it there. I mean, basically, what ByuN needs to do is sit back and maybe drop around a little bit. He needs to play very efficiently from here and very defensively. But that's very difficult to do on Lightshade because your bases are apart from each other. It's very easy for the Zerg to rotate between your bases. And so you just can't sit back and defend. Like, if this was Romanticide, it'd be like, oh, you know, ByuN's actually kind of fine. He's maxed out, so he can play a defensive game and just hold. In this case, I don't think ByuN gets that opportunity just because of the way the map works and because he was behind early. So as DRG runs in, this should just be free and supply to at least reproduce a little bit in towards the Hydras and the Lurkers. He's actually just going to remax on Zerglings. Apparently still doesn't care about Hydras and Lurkers just yet. Actually, he already has 16 Hydras on the map. What am I looking at? God damn. When did those sneak out? Okay, well, Lurkers are going to take to the stage soon, honestly, guys. And as ByuN kind of looks for a little bit of a push out, I mean, it's just not good because now the mutas counter again, right? Just nothing can go right for ByuN. It's just you're too far behind off the opening. And, you know, he was maxed out a few moments ago, but he has no economy to realistically, you know, rebuild off of a fight. And at the moment, it generally doesn't look as though DRG even wants to bother building Lurkers. He's just like, oh, you know, I actually got the Lurker 10 this time, but look! Lingbane Hydra was good enough to win. Yes, DRG, a little bit of a different game, a little bit of different circumstances, to be quite honest. As I know I've been kind of saying this for a little while, but ByuN kind of is dead. He needed to do something spectacular if he's going to win this game while fighting, and not just playing ultra defensively, and quite frankly, he didn't do that. The fights were kind of honestly still good for DRG each time, right? Look how much ByuN lost. Plus, he was losing SCVs on top of that. Have the army tab open as the game ends, but the income was massively in DRG's favor. If you think about the game before, right? I know the game before ended like, say the game before ended here. In the game before, if it ended like here where my mouse is, the income tab was like this, down, and then it was even before then. And look at the income lead that DRG had this game. Multiple minutes of just income advantage, while also resources lost is nowhere near as good as it was in the last game. Actually, it's not that far off, 3,000 difference. But the income difference with DRG is why he just has so much more this time. And he really can just overrun ByuN, who just had no pressure on the map. You know, DRG is taking a lot of these trades inefficiently as well because he's got 6 bases, 0 harassment onto them, and 0 reason to believe that he's ever going to lose those bases. GG's. I mean, ByuN was really a gunner in this game from the opening, but couldn't really do much else. One anti-time, ByuN attacked and lost just before 3-3. I don't think 3-3 makes any difference, though, because if DRG starts feeling like he's in trouble, he just makes Lurkers. And ByuN's preparation for Lurkers, a single siege tank. Splitting Marauders, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just nothing there to really make the difference anyway. He was losing the economy here. There was just no good way to make this. I mean, maybe you could sit back and play better. I don't necessarily think it makes a difference in the game, though. GG's. That's going to be game 2 going to DRG. As we kick off into the bottom right-hand side of the map with the red Terran player. It is going to be the Shopify Rebellion's ByuN. In the bottom left-hand side, our blue Zerg player from Team NV is DRG. Alright, so game number 3. Interesting how we get Blackburn. It probably means that we got the vetoes of Beckett and Oxide out of DRG. So he'd rather play Blackburn than those maps. Assuming ByuN just vetoes Romanticide, which is an interesting veto, but not super crazy. And Jack and Anther as well, I imagine. ByuN likes to switch up his vetoes. He kind of plays a bit of this and a bit of that all over the place, so... yeah, let's Lightshade through this time around, but... didn't work out for him. Yeah, so Blackburn, the reason this map generally is not so good for Zerg is that it's very good to split map late game on as a Terran. It's very difficult for Zerg to take these central bases to get a base up on the Terran. And often it's even difficult to take this base because of the Terran's power of pushing through the bottom side. And this position around here as well, so seeing a good bit of that as this Overlord coming up through the top, spawning pool coming in, gonna be about halfway done, couple of racks. Building in the main base because this is a CC first opening out of ByuN. Overlord of DRG just going to go for a little bit of a spawn in. Sees one Rax, sees nothing at the front. Third Rax as well from ByuN, so this is really going to be very bio-centric for the upcoming few minutes here. So I'm going to be seeing a lot of bio play. Orbitals on the way up. Refinery about to finish from ByuN here in the main base. Just getting that completed. And this Overlord of DRG going to start making its way across to the, well, just outside of these slow zones. Wait a little while maybe before making a bit of a play in again, right? You've already kind of seen the racks initially. Don't think there's anything else to see for at least a little while. Yeah, so CC first, and then it's going to be this bio play, like I say, a bit of aggression on the ground early. We'll see if he actually wants to attack, because you won't have starport or medevac support or anything, but you can get a lot of units here quickly and make your way on the map. It's just you're not going to have a very good retreat opportunity, which is perhaps a bit scary. And circling speed starting up from DRG. As ByuN just gets his stim pack going, so it's going to be a fairly late speed from DRG as well, right? Like, everything here is very much so just, he sees it CC first, and he's happy to just sort of sit back, which maybe does play into ByuN's favor when it comes to how quickly this Marine count is rising. Going to invest into double reactor now, so it's going to be even more Marines pouring out fairly soon. This looks like something Marine King would do. Yeah, you know what? If you really want to throw it back a bit, it kind of is. But if I had to pick a modern day Terran to do this, I think it probably would be ByuN, you know? I know ByuN's very much so about the 2-1-1 and stuff, but anything bio-focused early and putting pressure on early in the game, that's the kind of thing that ByuN has always been very successful with, so going to be having that factory then, finishing up shortly as we do have the circling speed about to be done. A couple of additional queens coming through, drones in production, and yeah, these few Marines of ByuN just going to kind of rally on around, going up that high ground. And just meanwhile, we're going to see the supply depot going to drop down to finish off this wall off. So wall off completed. Ling tries to slip up, but Marines say nuh-uh, and they take that down with ease. As again, just waiting for the starport to be done here. It looks as though you could probably get combat shields, right? And then just hit with stim combat shields and the medevacs. The only thing with that is that you're not going to have enough medevacs to really save all of these Marines. And they are going to start pushing on the map. DRG is going to build a Roach Roaring. So he wants to play a Roach style. We did see a lot of success. I mean, I literally heard... Was it Cats, I think? It was non-stop. Every time we saw Blackburn in DreamHack, Cats talked about Rogue Maru. And... excuse me, sneezing. And the game on this map with roaches, so maybe DRG going to adopt a little bit of that. Getting rid of a few creep teamers in the center here. These Zerglings going to come for a run in. Marines coming through. The Queens continue over. Another Marine getting picked off. And just going to see ByuN bringing these units back around through the middle and back up into the high ground. Just looking to continue pushing through. The Evolution Chamber is going to be finishing here as well. These Marines have stim if they need to use it. And again, the idea is if they can get off creep, they kind of don't mind this fight. They're going to kite backwards, stay away from the Queens, and that's pretty much going to be the fight for the moment. The first medevacs are only just now about to pop, and they're going to be able to reinforce with basically 15 more Marines. There's going to be a hell of a lot of Marines here, and I'm very worried for the fact there's just no Banelings, because he's gone Roach Roaring. He's going to build roaches, but not yet. He's building drones. Well, don't get me wrong, there's 3 CCs of ByuN, but he just went up to 70 workers on pure Ling Queen against what is now Stim Combat Shield Marines. Uh-oh, counterattack coming across the map from DRG. Now it pulls back. He sees these Marines. Scan comes down. How are we going to approach this? First roaches are on the way, and I feel like you really need those to make this work, right, Queens? Have a lot of transfused energy to utilize as ByuN gets rid of one. Going to go to the top side, gets 2, 3, and 4 Queens. Take that 5, 6. Oh my goodness. It's a Queen massacre. Absolute chaos over here. That's, wow. That's, yikes. That's crazy. Do we call that regicide, killing all those queens? Like, geez, that was, truly something. It was just going to be seeing one more missile upgrades coming in. Roach is on the way up, and that's what DRG's next step is, but man, after losing all these queens, just creep is going to be delayed. I don't know if injects are going to be that bad. Looks like there are plenty of queens still back a little bit. And it's just going to be seeing the few Marines coming from the top side. Lings and Roaches want to run through. In general here, I think ByuN's build matches up well against DRG because the timing at which ByuN attack... The thing is, DRG could have built Roaches sooner. He could have built Roaches before those few drones. And if he'd done that, this would have been a much easier defense. This would have gone way better for him, right? Like, this would have been a way easier time. Marine's going to lift up against these Roaches. Pull back up into the main base. A few Marines top left-hand side are going to make a bit of a stim forward as well. Queens going in after those medevacs, not quite connecting on them just yet, and a couple medevacs around this top side. Also just going to be unloading right now, so just getting those Marines back out. Obviously with Ling Roach Ravager, one of the biggest weaknesses it has is going to be the drop play, because you have no way to shut it down. ByuN defensively doesn't have much, mind you. He has a siege tank, a second one just popping. He's again chased at the bottom side here at the moment. ByuN may be realizing, okay, no, he's going to keep on being aggressive. I mean, in fairness, DRG has a gold base mining, and if you can deny that mining, that would be fantastic. So it's actually just going to drop into that gold base so you can chase after. Here we go with this attack in. I mean, the tanks need to really put in work here as the Roaches are going to come crashing on forward. Some additional units coming through. I mean, a lot of SCVs went down, pulled in to help with this attack. The extra tanks on this high ground are massive, by the way. Holy crap, they did some damage. 14 kills between the two of them. I think they're the real heroes here. I think they are the reason that ByuN is going to survive. I thought ByuN must have had an extra tank set up that I just didn't see initially, because those two tanks there are absolute MVPs. And this drop over here denies the fourth base, so it really denies DRG a follow-up where he's going to have like a super strong economy, and he's just going to waltz away with the rest of this game, you know? Damn, what a... these tanks, I really didn't notice them in time with all the other things happening on the map, but... Jeez, what a way to just put the defense out. Gonna come back, deny this gold base again, and ByuN gonna keep on dropping with these few units. Okay, your third CC is... Did he just lose the third CC? No? Where'd it go? Third CC, where are you? There you are, flying over the night. I was gonna say, just all of a sudden I was like, wait, it's gone. It hasn't died. That would have been a disaster, but no. Gonna get the third CC back up and running here soon, it seems, as... I mean, round 2 is coming from DRG. ByuN still has these two hero tanks from before. There's other tank as well. Just kind of get some free damage done, kiting with the Marine Marauder. I love the turret as well, just in case Brawler comes into play and, you know, enters the equation. Just want to be able to cancel that out pretty much immediately, right? Make sure he's not going to sneak by, jump up on your, on your tanks or anything. This time, Roaches are here defensively against the Marine drop. As 2-2 upgrades about to kick in. I imagine with the 2-2 upgrades kicking in, that's going to be the trigger for DRG to go and commit into this. Bit of back and forth from the bio, and well, Roach Ravager still wanting to push on through. Problem is, the more you wait, the more that these tanks mass up in number, the better they are going to end up being. Let's see what's going to happen. Bio's going to come on in. Here we go. I actually don't think you win this. Going to get held up by the turret and the depot initially. So many Marauders as well, so the Roaches are just going to die. Man, DRG is not cleaning out the tanks anywhere near fast enough. You can just see it, right? This Roach Ravager count is disappearing. Marines on the other side of the gold base are denying the mining here as well, and that is actually just going to be GG. Guys, I want to take us back. Just let's rewind to like the first defense from ByuN. Like, those tanks were truly crazy. Like, he already had these here. Oh my god. So, you know when I said there was like there was a second tank popping? I totally missed these two tanks right here. They were in position from such an early stage of the game. I completely missed them. Like, I looked here, Then I looked here and I saw this tank, and I just did not see those two. I just clicked too far back. And they were absolutely critical in this defense. I mean, if we just take another look at how this defense went. Like it's just these two guys. I mean, these tanks are fine. SCVs pull into buy time, right? These tanks hit from the entirety. Like they're just this roach army is just on the edge of this tank fire, but they do so much. So you're taking 4 tank shots every single time. Oh my, that is like these guys really are the MVPs. Because I don't even think DRG probably realized initially those tanks are there until it was too far gone. GG, and that is going to be ByuN winning the series out 2-1 in a beautiful defense.